Good evening, welcome to the Pediatric Voice. I'm your host, Dr. Helen Namsoke. Well, happy holidays to our dear children and for parents out there that are having a good time with them, that are interacting with them, teaching them a lot of things. Now, during holidays, usually, parents suffer and struggle with children with their eating. Some children struggle to eat. You find that a child is hardly eating anything, and some tend to binge eat. You find a child is always in the refrigerator, is always in the kitchen looking out for a snack, for what to deal with, and so much more. And we found it being a very big problem to children of different age groups, whereby you find the under fives tend to struggle to eat, while the adolescents tend to sometimes eat a lot and sometimes eat too little, because they are very mindful of their body image. But the question is eating always okay? Are there variations in the eating patterns whereby someone is either eating too much or too little or unhealthy eating? Is it a problem? Is it okay? How would I know whether my child has an eating problem or disorder? And what can we do to improve that, to make sure that things get to normal patterns, make sure that the children eat the right foods at the right timing and in the rightful quantity and quality, to make sure that they grow very well? Well, studies have shown that about 2% of the world population is suffering eating disorders, that is either eating too much or eating the wrong foods, and this eventually affects their physical and mental well-being. And guess what? It has been seen to be more common among adolescents and young adults, whereby this prevalence raises as high as 8.6%. Welcome to the Pediatric Voice. This Wednesday, we are going to discuss the eating disorders in children and adolescents. I'm your host, Dr. Helen Namsoke, but first, let's look at the guest. Welcome to the Pediatric Voice, Mr. Jolly Magulu.
I'm always happy to be here at the Pediatric Voice, Dr. Helen.
So our viewers, the viewers of Bethany TV out there, would want to hear from you. They are so eager to learn from you.
Thank you. I'm also happy to meet them again on TV.
Thank you. That is Mr. Jolly Magulu, a psychiatric clinical officer that is willing to teach the world about the different disorders in children, and today we are to discuss eating disorders in children. But before we delve deep into the discussion, let's first have a documentary on eating disorders in children.
Eating disorders are complex medical illnesses that have serious physical, mental, and psychosocial consequences, as well as association with high mortality rates. Eating disorders involve an unhealthy relationship with food and cause significant interference with daily functioning. These include anorexia nervosa, atypical anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, binge eating disorder, and avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. The overall prevalence of eating disorders is 8.6% globally, with a known spike among adolescents and young adults aged 18 to 21 years at 22%. It is more common in females than male counterparts and is the second most common cause of psychiatric-related mortality after substance-related deaths. Eating disorders can lead to serious medical and psychiatric-related complications like weight loss, failure to thrive, tooth destruction, depression, suicidal behavior, substance abuse, poor academic performance, and ultimate death.
So, Mr. Jolly, you've seen the documentary. Eating disorders seem far in our setting, but they're actually here with us. Sometimes we see children struggling to eat or struggling with the food they've eaten, while others are eating more than they should eat. Is eating that much of a problem?
First of all, eating is part of life. We need food to have energy, and actually when you eat food, even the body releases some chemicals that makes you feel good. So eating is part of the cause of good mood in people. But this can become a problem now when you eat beyond what you are supposed to eat, or more frequently, or eat less. It means either ways you're doing harm to the body. But when you look at when we are growing, when children make about 2 years, there is a slight reduction in the body development compared to below 1 year. So in that way, they don't need too much calories, or they don't need too much food as they could have been eating before. So
as they used to require, yes, in their first year of life.
Yes, so you find that parents are concerned. Why is my child eating less? And yet they are bigger now, and now they are eating less.
And they actually play more playful than they were before.
But eating less. And the parents get worried, why is my child not eating? It is actually part of development. It is normal for them to reduce about that age. And then you had talked about the adolescents now. Now, for the adolescents, it is part of normal development, because when we enter adolescence, the body tends to involve a lot of hormones in our development, interaction, behavior, and everything. And this changes many things. It may reduce or increase our eating. But you find that boys around this age are very active. Physically, some start playing games, some are doing physical activities. Actually feeding 14-year-old boys in a home, you may need to cook a little more than the usual feeding of 5 people in the same
because
home.
They require more calories.
Yes, they need more calories, so they will eat more. The amount is bigger and they may eat more frequently. So for girls, you find that instead they may start being concerned about their appearance to the public, so they don't want to be called fat or skinny. But we find that as opposed to before, in the ages, being fat was the beauty, was the standard of beauty. But I don't know, somehow, skinny came in now, being small became the standard all of a sudden, maybe because of the shows and models and the dressings. When those ladies are walking in those designs,
they're actually more mindful about the figure type. Figure 6, figure 8,
and
figure 9.
They are saying numbers.
Yeah.
They're like, for your figure 1 and your letter, you need to. And then, so in the way you find that someone may stop or may reduce on the amount of food being taken, or even others starve to reduce weight, or others may start to eat a lot. But now they are creating a standard which they may have a challenge to change as time comes, because they are trying their body to eat very less, and in that way they may start gaining less than they should for their body functioning, and they may even end up with other physical health problems because they're not taking in enough. And then those who are eating a lot, you find that they are also ending up with other physical health conditions. Okay,
having seen the variations with eating, either eating less or eating much, what are eating disorders?
Eating disorders, we can look at them as any behavior in relation to eating that is recognized by the person and the others as slightly below or above the normal variation. For example, you find that others are on the edge or extreme of less, then others are on the more. So you find that we may have some terms like anorexia nervosa, or eating less, or not eating. Then there is also bulimia nervosa, where someone is eating a lot, but again they induce vomiting after eating because they are mindful of gaining weight, but the appetite is there. So this is, we call it a disorder because of the stress that comes with the behavior. Yeah.
So it is, you're eating either too much or too little, and then there is an associated behavior to eat.
Yes.
It's not that you're intentionally eating too little and you're good to go with it. There is something abnormal with it. That is very interesting. Now, is it a problem? And how frequent should a child eat normal eating?
That's very hard to determine in many families, because sometimes this is due to availability. But 3 meals in a day are appropriate for any human being. But we look at that as like the minimum. But in between, people can snack, but sometimes people snack on meals. In between, they have meals, real meals, so they are eating a lot.
Where you mean the 3 main meals, that is breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Yes.
And then they are supposed to, they can have a mid-morning snack?
Yes.
And an evening snack?
Yes.
What about a night snack?
It is not healthy to have our system operating when we are sleeping. We may end up with fatigue, then others may dream funny things. But also it is easier to gain weight when you're eating a lot in the night, because you're not using the food, and then it is all stored and you're at peace. So it is easier to gain from the evening snack. But during the day, in the morning, you were fasting for 8 hours or even more. In the night when you're sleeping, you're not taking any food. So in the morning, you need a good meal, a heavy meal, I would say. Then at lunch, remember you were working, again you need a meal, a good one. Then in the evening, because you're going to sleep, you may need a later meal compared to the other two. But you may find that it's the reverse. People eat a lot in the evening, and then on breakfast they only take water with the sugar, and then maybe a piece of bread or something small, a snack, and then, but they're fasting the whole night. So other than those 3 meals, it's okay to snack in between, but you can snack with fruits. It is also okay. Unless you're feeling hungry or you're doing hard labor, like people working in construction sites, they may need to snack with almost a meal, because they're actually using the energy, and their muscles indeed are breaking down. Okay.
Yeah. Any risk factors to eating disorders? Why would someone fail to eat the normal way?
We can start with the lifestyle, because depending on the families we are growing in, that's why you find that outside Uganda, like in some first world countries, they have a more problem of eating a lot. People are big, people are obese, if you look at them compared to people of the same age, because they are eating a lot. But you may find that in other areas, they are not eating a lot, and they are used to not eating, and it becomes
Is it because of the viability of the foodstuffs?
Yes, availability and the type of food, the choice, the lifestyle. For example, because there is money, when you prefer fast foods, you can afford them, and so you will get them whenever you need them.
So these apps, the Jumias and so many...
You type in, and then there's, imagine actually, you're even at peace, you're sedentary, you're seated, and then the food is on the door, a pizza, and again after that, then they bring chicken, then you're just seated in the house, and then food is flowing. You're not even cooking, so you're not using even, you're not doing the small activities you could do to use your energy, but you're still consuming. So in the end, the other appearance, it is the one that brings more concern in the end. Either you're too small or too huge. But now you find that others are professional related. For example, there are some models. Professional modeling, they define your meal, and indeed, they are considering your BMI as well, or your weight, that is considered as normal. But you find that others, yes, are in modeling, but maybe they are not getting professional help on nutrition. So in the end, they may just go on reducing the amount of food, because they need to put on the other dress well on stage, and they get used to this behavior. So you may find that someone is 17 kilograms below what they should have compared to their height. So that is too low, regardless of your profession. Actually, you're likely to have an illness coming in and can put you down. You can even start presenting with some things like maybe you feel bringing sensations in the arms, or maybe in the sole of the feet, then fatigue, then some pains unexplained, because your body is going through a situation of not having enough glucose. It is actually breaking down your own fats and muscles. So because of that's now profession related. But also this is something that is somehow genetical. Yeah, it has been reported to be genetic to a certain extent. You may find that there has been someone with a similar problem in the family, or sometimes the people who have been maybe with anxiety disorders in the family, or obsessive compulsive disorder where people are perfect, too strict, they may do some things repeatedly. So you find that they are more likely to have children with eating disorders because the trend of the behavior follows the same things. Anxiety symptoms, the worrying, but then it comes in those obsessive and compulsive related behaviors. Still in the eating, there's that compulsion. So you find that it's genetical to a certain extent. So I didn't decide, it wasn't my lifestyle. I just end up like that because of the DNA related issues that I don't know about. I'm just grown up when I have the problem. But then you may find that there are other issues that are coming in right from childhood. You may find that the family creates a standard of a certain weight, and you must meet that.
You either have to eat too much to gain weight, to be like mommy.
Yes.
Or you have to keep small.
Yes. And all family members will be speaking against you if you're not like
that size.
Them. Yes. So now that becomes a problem, and now they create a standard and a thinking in this young mind that may end up becoming a problem, and of which now solving the problem becomes expensive, or it may take more time. And yet they don't remember that they created the problem in the family. And now that's now big, because you have to solve the family belief and standards. Then again you help the child. So that is actually even more challenging. But currently in Uganda we are moving from a trend of undernutrition to
overnutrition. Yes.
Somehow. And we are soon there. We are actually moving at terrific speed. You find that food was not there. Yeah, it was not there, but maybe even if it was there, there were meals.
I think it also goes with a setting. When you go to the urban setting, we have two classes of people. We have the overnourished and the undernourished. Despite the availability of funds to afford food, you find that even in the rich homes, we have children that are undernourished because they're eating the wrong way.
Food, yes.
They are eating food, but the wrong food.
Yes.
And then you go to the rural setting, we are having more of the undernourished children. Yes.
Yes. Now, actually, on adding on to the wrong food, yes, food is there, but it's not the right food. Sometimes it can also be related to an underlying mental disorder that you may not know. For example, children who have autism may be specific to a certain food, and then the parent is not concerned on the diet part of it. Mine likes rice, full stop, boiled, nothing more. Does not eat even sauce, does not just rice with salt. Where are you getting the proteins?
I have a friend's daughter, she's 4-year-old, and she cannot even chew. If you don't mash it for her, blend it for her, she'll not eat. Is it an eating disorder as well?
Not chewing now may also come up with the other physical problems. You never know. Maybe there are problems with the jaw, maybe there is some pain somewhere, or maybe they just fear to chew. Maybe it's just fear. So you find that it is natural to chew and even breastfeed. That is natural. But now when it is fading, then we have to first get worried about our physical development. You never know. Because if you find out that, it may solve many problems. But if they just fear to chew, then maybe something happened when they were chewing, and then they
gave up.
They gave up on chewing.
Okay.
Maybe there was maybe a bone or maybe a stone in food, and somehow and then they started to fear. Or someone threatened them. You may find that someone may threaten a child in a teasing way, but this can become quite serious in their mind because their level of fear is different from adults.
Okay. What are those eating disorders? Having seen that eating is very important and there is what we call abnormal or disordered eating. What are those eating disorders?
We have terms like anorexia nervosa.
Okay. So our viewers out there, we are looking at a different eating disorders among children, and it's such a very interesting discussion. Who knew that eating can actually be a problem, and it can actually be related to the mental and physical issues within our children, and it can actually affect their physical and mental well-being. Let's come back shortly after the break. Welcome back from the break. You are watching Bethany TV for Health, and you are on the Pediatric Voice, a show where we discuss the different childhood issues, illnesses, and how best to improve the livelihood of our children. Remember, our target is to go to the middle income status, and we can only do that if we have a healthy youngster generation that is going to grow into productive and healthy citizens. Now you can watch Bethany TV live on Bethany TV Uganda, that is on Facebook, X Spaces, and YouTube, as well as watch us on 271 on SatTimes, 841 on GoTV, as well as 170 on GoTV. Feel free to share, subscribe, and like, comment, and send in your questions on the different topics that we discuss on the Pediatric Voice, as well as Bethany TV for Health. Now today, I'm your host, Dr. Helen Namsoke, and we are discussing eating disorders in children. Eating sometimes can be a problem to different children, and today we are to pave way on how best we can feed our children to make sure that they eat very healthy way. Remember, adolescents sometimes have challenges with their body image, where we find that boys tend to eat a little more because they engage in the different sporting activities, while the girls tend to shun away with eating despite the urge to eat, because they are quite mindful of their appearance. That figure is very important to them. And we are hosting Mr. Jolly Magulu, who is a psychiatric clinical officer and mentor for different illnesses. He's quite interested in handling the different psychosocial disorders among children, and how best to improve the livelihoods of the little ones that are living with the different disorders. So we broke off with a discussion of the different eating disorders in children.
Yes.
What are those ones?
Now, let us start from those that are common in younger children. There is one we consider the avoidant or restrictive food intake. Like someone is not eating, they are trying not to eat. Despite
them being hungry?
Yes. Sometimes this is common when there is a problem or pain somewhere when they eat. You may find that they either have a dental-related problem or something is wrong in the tummy. So they start associating food with the pain. And with younger children, because they don't have the words to explain that this is paining, so they think whenever I eat, I get pain. So the solution is I don't eat. So in the end, you struggle with the child not to eat, you struggle, but then until you solve the other problem they are having, they may never improve on their eating.
Is it more common in the young children? Because we have an age group that can clearly air out their issue and can tell you, Mommy, I have tummy pain. Mommy, my tooth is aching. Is it more common in the young ones that cannot spell out their problem?
Yes, that type, it is more common in the young ones who cannot express their problem. But still, in the avoidant type, that's where we can also scoop out the other anorexia nervosa, which is looking at those still who are trying to control their food intake because they want to be slim. For them, they are concerned about their body image as well.
So they know
yes.
what a nice figure is,
yes.
what being fat means, and
yes.
what being small means. That means that is the grown.
Yes, the grown up.
Adolescents.
Early 20s. Or if it is occupational, then you may find that their job requires a certain size. There are some companies that if you're not a certain size, you find that you will not continue working or you will not get the job. So now they start to be so cautious about any slight weight gain. So in that way, they end up reducing below normal such that they maintain themselves in a certain shape, forgetting that your weight has to match with your weight, with your height. So you may find that they are tall, but instead they are taking a weight of a short person. So for them, they are getting sick. But because now this is not all explained, when the person in the company is talking to you, they will not tell you now versus your weight. They will not talk that. They will just say, we don't want to see you this size. Simple. And then for you, you will do it the wrong way. Yeah, they will be happy because you're the size they want. But also you find that the concern about body image in growing ladies is key. But also in men, you find that men are more concerned about a certain structure of their body.
Six-pack.
Yeah, the pack, I hear there is even 8. Now they call those with a big tummy to have 1 pack. But
I think those are more in the adults. Let's stick to the children.
Yes. So you find that these ones who are growing up, they set a standard because of a certain desire they are having. And now they end up having a repetitive type of behavior. If even they eat, they run away, go somewhere, and then induce vomiting. They remove the food.
So they know that they have the urge to eat. The
yes.
appetite is there to eat.
Yes.
But they fear digesting the food.
Yes. So they remove it before they gain weight. And this starts to become their trend. I eat, I vomit. I eat, I vomit. They intentionally induce vomiting so that that food is not digested for them to gain weight. So you'll be like, but they are having 3 meals. But they are weight. But now when you find that they are speaking to a profession, the profession will be able to identify, or when they open up, then they'll say, yeah, I induce vomiting. Why? Because I do not want to gain weight. Why don't you want to gain weight? My boyfriend said she doesn't want fat girls.
I imagine a 15-year-old who has a new catch in senior 6, a 19-year-old.
Yes.
They can be, their look is very important.
Very important. Their appearance in the mirror, their appearance when they put on. There is a young girl I was working on, and then she used to call herself a potato.
What does that mean?
It's like her body is circular. And this is a 15-year-old girl. So she desired to have a small body, but she was not losing regardless of starving. So instead she was causing more harm to her body. Because sometimes our weight is defined by many other factors like genetics, not just food. You may starve yourself, but you're not losing as others are losing while starving. So, but you end up with other problems because of the starving, because the body will need food.
I've ever seen a child who was taking herbs. She came to my clinic because of chronic diarrhea, being the presenting complaint. And on digging deeper, this child would take herbal medicine. She would go and eat because it is a requirement in a home. You know, there are those homes that are strict. Of if it is eating time, everyone has to be on the table and eat. So she would eat like normal family members. And then after she would go behind their back and take some herbs. So she kept on getting diarrhea. Is it also an eating disorder? And if so, where does it lie?
Now, if it is the intention, you see, sometimes you look at the intention. The intention is to lose. Because you find that if given opportunity, they will not eat. if given opportunity to decide either to or not eat, they will not eat. So still they are restricting. But because now the rules are quite key, or maybe there is someone, another following up on whether you're eating or not, they will eat. But as I told you, the same, they will either go induce vomiting, but now that one is very creative. How did they even come up with a certain herb that can help them to have diarrhea and remove the food? That is quite now unique. Maybe they read about it, maybe they consulted, I don't know, but whatever reason is, indeed they don't want that food to be digested. But now the washing away the diarrhea is causing many other problems. You're not just losing food, you're causing many other problems. And even this herb, we don't know a lot about it. You never know when it enters the body, it is also causing other
abnormalities. Yes. Very interesting. Now, how would a parent out there, caretaker out there, get to know that maybe their child or adolescent could be suffering an eating disorder?
The common sign someone can look at is the weight of their child. I think that someone is either increasing very fast or someone is losing. But those who are increasing, you find that they are aware that they are increasing. And indeed they are concerned about their increasing.
But they just can't control what they eat.
But they can't control eating. So sometimes they even induce also vomiting, but it doesn't work. They still gain. So they are distressed. They want to lose, but they cannot lose. So the body size matters a lot, but then also if you follow the pattern of eating, you try to give them freedom to see if they will eat or not, then you see that, oh, they are not. Every time I give them opportunity not to eat, indeed they will not eat, even if it means starving, eating 1 meal a day, which is just tea with the sugar for a full week, and they are surviving on that. You are like, what are you really doing? So the pattern of eating, but also the body size, they are the first things someone can consider or can look at just from a distance, you know. Maybe there is some problems this person's behavior in regards to eating. So you may find that it may not necessarily be a disorder at that moment, but may be growing into a disorder if you don't come in early. Or you may find that, yeah, you've just discovered the secret. It was a disorder even already, but they were just trying to keep away from you to know, because now like the other one who was taking the herb diuretic, when will you know they're on the table, they are eating, just like you. But somehow, there is another problem. But also the other issue is that they end up with the unexplained complaints with their bodies. Find that they are having that unexplained weakness, muscle weakness, they get sick from time to time. Then you find that others, they feel some hot sensations in the palms or needle pricks. And you are looking at a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, and the complaints are like for an old person of about 70 with their body. But then you are like, what's the cause of this? You may find that it's just weight, especially if it was very low. As long as they gain to the normal, everything just disappears and they just get to normal. They become healthy, more active, all of a sudden. But also, if there is an underlying mental disorder, then it may be obvious to see the other signs. Sometimes in depression, this can happen. When some people are going through depression, there is that change in their food intake. They may either do binge eating. There is binge eating just like binge eating without inducing vomiting. So in depression, you may eat a lot or eat less.
So in other words, these eating disorders or variations in eating are more of a mental health issue.
Yes. Yes, regardless of the cause, the reason as why we look at them as mental disorders is because the person who has the problem is indeed suffering, but they just don't have the words to explain the problem.
Or they can't help themselves.
And they can't help themselves. So they may have a clue, but maybe they don't know how to start and where to start, where to get help. So you find that they are under serious stress. Imagine you're taking food and then you induce vomiting. You're taking food, then you want to diarrhea. Every day that is happening like 3 times a day. So food is something very key for you to think about every day.
So they take their time to even think about the meal and how they are going to eat it and what they will do with it after it is taken in.
Every day, every time they are having a meal. So this has become something that is taking away their attention most of the time, but it's also causing stress, because you find that others move from eating disorders to other mental disorders. Now they end up with serious depression.
Very interesting. Dear viewers, we are discussing eating disorders amongst children, and we've seen it is more common among the adolescents, especially the female adolescents, because they are quite very inquisitive in life and they are very interested in their body image, and that often leads them to the different disorders, such as sometimes they are mindful of what they eat. They may eat too little because they want to keep quite slim for the different roles in life or interactions in their life. Maybe they want to appear so slim, or sometimes they end up eating a lot, binge eating, and then they tend to induce vomiting or to induce diarrhea, so that they don't get to digest this food. And unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't work out the way they expect it to be. And for the boys, sometimes they tend to binge eat because they want to gain a certain weight and maybe engage in the different sports that are causing them to use a lot of energy for fuel. Now, Mr. Magulu,
yes.
Are there complications to these eating disorders?
Yes, they are. If eating disorders are to be diagnosed, you find that the first person they are meeting is not a psychiatric-related personnel or mental health-related professional. No. They always start from the general clinic. Why? Because they are having physical health problems. They can even be admitted because of low glucose levels. And then the other reason is
fainting. They
faint because sometimes they find someone is too thin to the extent of failing to even run or walk. As long as there's something strenuous, then they faint. And no one can explain why it is happening. And because they are not eating, obviously, if you consistently do not eat, you are likely not to be able to work or be productive in any way. So usually the complications come in as serious physical health problems. Because of this not eating, may find that their system, where food is passing, the GIT, may find is having, it comes to end up with many other problems because of not eating, because the acid will always be produced, ready to digest food which is not there.
So they end up with ulcers.
They end up with ulcers.
Actually, of late we are seeing more children with ulcers than it used to be before. And one would ask, why? Where are we getting children with tummy aches with ulcers, you know?
Sometimes children with ulcers also may be related to the pattern of eating at school. At school, at what time do they eat? If a child did not have breakfast at home, at school breakfast is at 10. They last ate at 6 p.m. the other day. Now they are having the next meal at 10 a.m. That's too long for a child. And again, lunch will come at maybe 1 or 2, a meal that they will not define. They may like it or not like it. And again, they may again eat at 9 or 10 when they reach home, those who are in day school. So you find that the intervals from one meal to another, they are
quite
prolonged.
Too long for their age.
Yes, and others may be too tired to eat that night and they sleep, but they last ate at 1, and then they will eat
again at 10.
At 10, it's too long. But also these other stressing problems that are coming in home. Stress can also cause ulcer, just because parents do not believe that children can be stressed, but they can be depending on the pressure we have. Someone is waking up at 5 a.m. to prepare to go to school, but this child is 2 years or 3 years, seriously. And now, at school, there is a series of activities, and by the time the bus is reaching home because of jam, it is 7 p.m. They leave earlier and arrive late than the one who is feeding them and paying rent, or even the mother or the father. So the child is working more than you. At the age of 3.
True.
So you find that by the age of 5, 7, they already have some other complaints coming in one by one, because their body is looking at a different lane that isn't appropriate for age. But that's something we cannot control now because it is like a national problem now.
Okay, back to the complications apart from ulcers and what else?
Other complications of eating disorders can be other mental disorders. And these are very common because of this concern and the comments from the public and the family members, you find that someone is ending up with depression.
Because they are not getting that figure they are looking for.
Yes, they've failed. However much they've tried.
So, or they are doing too much to maintain a figure.
Yes. And somehow it may not work because you don't know why you're appearing like that. It may be a genetic definition of your body size, but you're forcing to grow weight. Others end up going to buy some tablets to either lose or gain, and doctors are always trapped in that situation. Someone comes at the table suddenly and they're like, I need a tablet to help me get appetite. There is a colleague of mine I knew. She used to take appetite tablets for over 5 years.
But was she eating? Did the appetite improve?
It would improve and still disappear, and improve and still disappear. But now she's taking these tablets, which she shouldn't be taking by the
And you know, we face so many parents who want to keep their kids on syrup after syrup. They can come and give you a whole list of how many multivitamins they've used trying to get appetite.
Yes, and they will still come for one.
And you know what? It never improves. It has been such a very interesting discussion. This thing is here with us, and that is the eating disorders amongst children. They may seem scanty, but they actually tend to affect a good number of our children, as high as 8.6% among adolescents, and more so among the female adolescents who are quite mindful of their body image or size or figures. And guess what? You may be looking for that figure that you're looking, but it comes with several complications such as chronic low blood sugars, and this can give you chronic headaches, faintings, sometimes failure to perform in class, leading to poor academic performance, poor learning abilities, and sometimes this may also be associated with medical illnesses like electrolyte imbalances, ulcers, and so much more. So it is very important to be mindful of the way we eat, and also to improve the level of esteem for our children so that they are very pleasant about their body image. It is not a crime to be a certain figure, but however, we should also encourage them to do exercise to the meaningful levels so that they either not underdoing it or overdoing it to avoid obesity. Yes. Feel free to keep watching us on the Pediatric Voice for more interesting discussions about child health. Now, during holidays, I'm very sure some of you are searching for the different schools where you can take your children, and I introduced to you Disney Junior School in Natete, a school with a daycare center and as well as primary and pre-primary levels. It has school buses and well-trained teachers and a conducive environment where you can have your children well-trained to grow into productive adults. And remember, our target is to have a middle income status, and we can only have that with good health as well as good education. Feel free to join us next week as we have more interesting discussions about child health. Bye.